Hello everyone, and welcome to the Dice Commando YouTube channel. I'm Andrew, with you here as always. This is the Commando Cast, a video cast about all things Star Wars Destiny. This video and others like this one are possible thanks to viewers like you. Please show your support with a like and subscribe, and be sure to hit the bell notification icon so you don't miss any new videos. If you want to get involved with the channel, consider becoming a channel member. There are many benefits to channel membership, including access to our Discord, exclusive deck tech and strategy videos, and the opportunity to help create channel content. I want to sincerely thank all our channel members, as I truly couldn't do this without your support. You guys rock. Go Commando.
Hey Destiny folks, welcome back to the Commando Cast. Andrew with you here, and happy Friday. So I don't think it comes as a surprise to any of us that by and large, lower character points are better. Groundbreaking statement there, I know. However, over the course of Destiny, it's become clear that certain numbers, certain point cost values are kind of the key, or what I'm calling today the magic number. And this has been true, of course, across all of Destiny, but has also been called in the forefront with some of the recent Holocron Balance of the Forces, specifically with Vader and Pyre. So today I want to talk about 19 and 13 as some of those magic numbers in Star Wars Destiny. Hey folks, welcome back. I hope you've had another great week back here on Friday again, chatting it up with Star Wars Destiny. So I know you guys have been watching, or hopefully you guys have been watching the videos. We've had a lot of pretty cool videos start to go up this week of some play, trying out stuff in the new meta. Primarily, I'm hot for Pyre, right? Let's just say Pyre Relentless at 13 points total is a pretty great value, and it's been very hard for me to kind of branch off of that. But we've also seen Big Daddy Vader, right? Vader should be scary. It's the way it should be in this game. But him at 19 points is pretty scary. Pretty scary, right? So that's kind of what, looking at, how things have evolved over the last, 2 weeks or so. Maybe it's been 3 weeks. I don't know. I lose track of time these days. But it's very clear that both of these guys are very aggressively costed. And I want to start today's conversation with Darth Vader primarily before we go into the 13, right? Darth Vader being at 19 is a big deal. So let's go ahead and dive into him in himself, right? So he originally was at 21, and I think it was very clear to everybody that Luke was better, right? Luke was at 20. He could be paired with Satine primarily. There were other pairings out there, but, Satine was the big pairing, and she was at 10, and she helped him get the money he needed to ramp into where he needed to be. So the argument of making Darth Vader 19, I don't think was too off the wall. The problem is, there's a big difference between 20 and 19, right? And to kind of illustrate that point, let's just for a second imagine if Luke had been dropped to 19 and he could pair with someone like Ahsoka, right? I think we'd be looking at a very different, obviously you'd be looking at a different play style, but I think it would be a very different situation in terms of how we figured Luke. Like Luke was very good, and I think if he could be paired with an 11-pointer, they could also dish out damage and also maybe finish the game on their own. I think we'd have been looking at a very, very different meta. And that's really what brings me to my point about 19 points as a point style, is that there are an awful lot of, when you go from, and maybe 11 is also a magic number, right? Because generally what we've seen is that 10 and below for elite characters, 10 to 11 seems to be that difference between being a support character versus being someone that can actually deal damage, right? And that's kind of my point here with Vader Savage, right? Vader being able to pair with Savage at 11 is huge. Now let's go into a world where Vader's only 20 points. You're either pairing him with a 1-die person. I reference my boy Maul, right? My boy Maul from he was Spark of Hope. He didn't have an elite partner that could do anything. I mean, he didn't really have an elite partner to begin with in general, but if you could have paired Maul in his day, if you could have paired Maul with somebody who had 2 dice and could deal damage, that'd have been very scary instead of trying to basically get the effective second die out of Mandalorian, which is what I was doing, right? And I think we get to the same point with Darth Vader here. If he was 20, you're looking at like Ozzel and maybe stuff like that, or any number of money generating type characters, and then maybe playing up with a plot. But being able to play Vader with a 2-die Savage, and let's even lose the focus on Savage, because a lot of the focus on Savage is, well, you got Guardian, you can flip him, which are all completely valid. So let's just say some random 11-point character, Death Trooper. Not that's or Praetorian or something like that, right? Yeah, I think that's a good example to better highlight the point, right, and take it away from the Savage thing, right? Let's say Praetorian, right, Elite Praetorian. That's still way above where I think Luke Satine is, right? If you were to put Vader in a situation where his partner was a ramper into Vader, it would be a very different situation, right? And that's why I say that difference between 19 points and 20 points is really a big deal, because it shifts your supporting character from being a supporter to someone who can potentially finish on their own. That's really the take between 19 and 20. And a lot of people ask me, and the complete disclaimer here is I was wrong, right? When Racco Hardeen was spoiled, I was like, Racco Hardeen is insane and he's broken. And he's not. He wasn't. I was wrong. My apologies to the RDM team there. But you look at him right at that point value at 19, I was very worried about him, and that was kind of why is there's an awful lot of 11 pointers that you can put with somebody who deal damage and can finish, right? So anyway, I think I've pretty much pounded that point home, but go find me, at least in the history of Destiny, there are not many 7/10s or 8/10s who can reliably deal damage. There was Greedo. I think that was it. And then, it just shifts the whole deck style, and it supports a big. I'm fine with that. But it's just very different. So again, this is not a rant on whether Vader's too good or not. I actually think that he probably shouldn't have been 19. But I'm fine with where the meta is, and the guys are a lot. Like I said, I was wrong on the Racco Hardeen thing, and the guys are obviously smarter than I am. So, no comments there. All right, the next magic number, and I'm so hot on Pyre, man. I cannot get my focus off of it. But 13 is that next magic number. Now, many of you may be asking the question, well, why is 14 not the magic number? And that's a heads up question, because it used to be 14 plus 8 plus 8. Right, which is very relevant for an elite with 2 flankers, right? 2 non-elite flankers. The difference there is that a 13-pointer elite, right? A 13-pointer elite lets you bring still a 4-dice start, but it lets you start to amp it up a little bit. Or it lets you go into some weird, right? Because most of the 13s are a 10-13. Right, and that's really where my head is more here, is it gives you the flexibility that you could do some kind of really high health 3-dice start. You get the flexibility, and that's really what the 10-13 slot is about the functional flexibility that they bring with them. Your 10-13 can go with a 17. I reference Kylo and Dengar, right? When Dengar was unplayable, Dengar's a great example of this. Dengar was basically unplayable at 14 points. But when he went to 13 points, Homeboy hit the table a lot, right? And still sees, well, mainly just me, but still sees play from time to time. Pyre was basically Kragan, and there was the Veers deck. But now Pyre's everywhere at 10-13, right? You start to see how it snowballs, because you can look at a lot of different combinations. With that 17 points, you can look at a lot of different combinations, right? 8 and 9 add up to 17, but there's more to it than that, because you can also go 10, and there's a lot more flexibility options. When you're in the 11-14 range, you start to be a little more hamstrung, and that's really why that's a magic number. And then the other title of this was, and 11 is gravy. We kind of already talked about that with Darth Vader, but 11 is also gravy because of the 10-13 argument, right? So, because usually your 11s are 8-11, right? And that 8 puts them also into range where they're functional with the 13s in some sort of multi-wide scenario. So those are that's basically it for today, is looking at those magic numbers and how, dropping a character by a point sometimes means a lot more than just opening up a pairing. It opens up a lot more pairings, and it really decreases. It can change functionally the way in the deck plays, right? And again, I'll go back and then we'll get out of here, right? But I want you to really functionally think about if BD Luke were to go to 11, or excuse me, were to go to 19, and you could play him with Ahsoka, right? What would that do to our meta right now? How would that change the full approach on Luke and how we view Luke as a character? I think it'd be, I mean, obviously I'm proposing it, but I think it would be a significantly different approach, and I think we'd have a very, very, very different meta and would have for some time, right? Luke Ahsoka to me sounds pretty scary, right? So anyway, that's it for today. Just wanted to kind of toss out the magic numbers. I don't really want to get into the whole discussion about whether Vader's too good or not. I mean, he's dominating the meta, but it's a small data points, and to be very clear, guys, it doesn't even matter what we think about it, because at this point, with the new set coming out in 6 weeks or something like that, like they're not going to change anything. So Vader's here to stay, at least for the next 6 weeks. Maybe they can hopefully we'll go there. Hopefully they do bump him back up to 20 when the new set comes out, because I wonder how much of the new set testing's been done with Vader at 19, because they're probably knee deep in testing their own stuff, and I don't know, maybe, I mean, they're pretty good at what they do, so maybe they are catching that kind of as a diving catch type thing. But I would imagine a lot of the design was not captured with Vader at that lower value. So they have to be really careful with what they're doing, thinking about any 11s that come out, quite frankly, in this next set. And to the flip side of that, for those of us looking, 17s and 11s are going to be villain side, I should say, are going to be really high demand, I would think, when the next set hits. So anyway, that's it for today. Thanks for continuing to join me. Again, chime in on the discussion below. Especially the big Luke players, where do you think you could go with your deck if you could run somebody who was dealing consistent damage like an Ahsoka versus a Ramper? Would it change it? Would it hurt it? I don't know. I don't have the reps that you do. So let me know. Anyway, thanks folks for joining me today. If nothing else, go Commando.